And welcome back to Hannity and the special edition and Warning for a Nation. Now let's listen to the final part of Paul Harvey's message to the country.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
All right, before we bring back our studio audience, think of what he said. I take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. Well, let's listen to President Obama when he talks about fair share, income, inequality he often mentions. Listen to this.
If everybody is getting a fair shot, everybody has a chance to do better. We can build an economy that gives everybody a fair shot.
When we talk about everybody paying their fair share, Americans who can afford it should pay their fair share.
Fair play and shared responsibility. I think that's a fair approach. Americans who can't afford it should pay their fair share.
Fair play and shared responsibility, that's what we're about.
Buffett rule is something that will get us moving in the right direction towards fairness. And so it's time for Congress to stand up for the middle class and make our tax system fairer.
We've got to make sure that we've got a tax system that reflects everybody doing their fair share.
Or are we better off when everybody gets a fair shot?
Ever remember what Joe Biden said about women? They're stuck in dead-end jobs. Well, who's going to pay for their health insurance? Well, that would be you. Remember this comment.
This is about freedom. How many of you are single women with children in a dead-end job? You're there because of your health insurance. You would rather have the opportunity to spend the next couple years with your child till they get, if that was your choice, till they get into primary school. You're now trapped in that job because if you leave, you lose your health insurance. Now, you'll be able to make an independent choice.
All right, take from those who have and give to those who want it until we take away the incentive of the ambitious. Oh, that's sort of like New York after you pay federal, state, local, sales, property, and every other tax, 3 cents of every dollar goes to the government, Judith. Sounds like Paul Harvey is Nostradamus. Forget about being the great radio icon.
I think what we were listening to from the president was a statement of equal opportunity for all. And I fail to see how equal pay for equal work and making sure that people aren't discriminated on the basis of race
where
is
women
a
are
bad
paid
thing.
Decidedly less.
He should indeed, and that was a whoops moment for him.
A whoops moment?
Yes.
That was a nuclear whoops moment. Yeah.
You know what's not fair is to be continually lied to and pandered to by an administration that thinks you don't know any better. You can't get the real information and figure it out for yourself. And I think really what we're all talking about here is important, and we're talking about Paul Harvey being prophetic. But I hope it drives people to action. It shouldn't drive them to indifference, which if you get out of the bubble, and people are cynical. People are like, it's too rough, it's too hard, the problems are too big. Indifference isn't the answer. Get engaged, get involved, do something.
Katie? Yeah.
I'm not sure how taking hard-earned money from one person and giving it to another person is equal opportunity in the least, where that is completely wrong. And you can't take money from you cannot take money from one person and give it to another and say that's equal opportunity. It hasn't worked that way. We've seen it not work throughout history. Americans pay more to the government every year than they spend in food, housing, clothing, all of their necessities. You pay more to the government every year than you pay for your own personal life.
The fairness message is not a bad message.
Yeah.
And here's where that money goes that you're talking about from New York.
62 cents out of every dollar.
We send it to the red states through the federal government who don't pay as high taxes. So they need the money. And hang on, I want to say something to what you were talking about before.
Hanging. Go ahead.
In the red states, and I'm from West Virginia, okay, so we're the reddest of the red. highest suicide, highest obesity, domestic violence, incarceration.
You're getting off the point.
Lowest taxes.
You're missing the point.
Not at all, because those are Republican.
Wait a minute. Here's my question to you. At what point do you say enough is enough? In other words, X number of cents out of every dollar can go to government, state, local, federal, hidden taxes, and then you get to keep what you earn. That's what Paul Harvey's talking about. Before you destroy incentive and ambition in people, what percentage out of every dollar, how much should I be able to keep for the hours I put in every day?
Start with why do I have to send my money to
How about you answer
Mississippi?
my question? I asked you a very simple question.
As little as possible.
No, I want a number at which point you say that government at that point is becoming abusive.
Well,
Sean,
No. Can I keep 50 cents of every dollar? Can I pay 30 cents of every dollar?
It depends on what services you want back.
Listen,
Sean, that's the problem. Is everybody wants Medicare. Everybody wants roads.
It's never enough, and you're not going to get the number from any liberal anytime you ask how much more money do you need for education.
25-30%. Get rid of deductions, and you got an answer.
Let me finish my point.
Finish and just say.
By the way,
got an answer.
I am really getting afraid because Doug Schoen and I are agreeing a lot these days.
Exactly, because it's common sense. It's what all Americans want. We're not a nation of rightists and leftists.
Let Deneen finish her point, and then we'll go to Amy. Go ahead.
It's never enough. And the other point I wanted to make is Obama's redistribution of wealth does not work. And here's the other thing. He talks about a level playing field. He doesn't support school choice, which will benefit disadvantaged children, get them a quality education, and restore hope for their future. His daughters go to a quality school in Washington, but he's blocking the door for kids that really need a quality education.
Right? Amy, yes.
It goes far beyond tax policy. We now have an administration that is openly cheerleading for disincentivizing work. You played that clip of the Vice President Joe Biden. We also had Nancy Pelosi telling young people, now you don't have to work. Now you can write poetry or, Simon and Garfunkel.
I'd like to stay home.
This is a myth.
I work a lot.
Yes, we have spent $2 trillion on social welfare sorts of programs, and since the 1960s, the poverty rate not better.
But for the first time, we have public officials saying it's good not to work.
Yeah.
And what
Vice President.
Exactly what we just saw in those clips that you showed with Obama was him not speaking in reality. We see him taking some of these issues like the Equal Pay Act and running with them and giving false statistics, just like he said with the pay your fair share. It doesn't work. You're killing the middle class by making those statements. But unfortunately, that's what a lot of the American people want to hear. But actions speak louder than words, and they're starting to see it. And that's why his numbers are so low.
Last word in this segment, Katie.
Let's focus too on the incentive part. And if you want to talk about disincentivizing people to work, we can look directly at Obamacare. When you're not going to pay doctors what they deserve, you have liberals writing entire articles about why doctors are just whining because they're not getting paid enough. Well, guess what? Now 6 out of 10 doctors are retiring early because they're not going to get paid enough, and it's not worth it to go into that industry anymore.
By the way, I love the cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Or they're doing concierge service, right?
Well, that's the way to go, but guess what that does? That makes it completely unfair because only the people who can afford it are going to get good health care, and it's going to create a
best doctors are moving away. We got to take a break. Pastor, we'll get to you, I promise. We got to take a break. We'll come back. And coming up, could the Tea Party be America's last chance to restore the conservative ideals that made the country great? Deneen Borelli, she went and spoke to members of the movement, got their thoughts. We're going to play that tape, much more as we continue this audience edition of Hannity. Don't forget, set your DVR, Hannity the series. We don't want you to miss an episode, 10 Eastern, right here on Fox.